Don't forget, like basketball, Tractor Supply knows that a winning season takes practice, teamwork, and a can-do attitude. It's Bracket Challenge season, and the Fox Sports Radio Bracket Challenge is live right now. So if you're the smartest person in the room, be sure to complete your bracket at foxsportsradio.com right now. The winning bracket, Fox Sports Radio Bracket Challenge, will win a $2,500 gift card to Tractor Supply, one of the coolest stores around, and a perfect bracket will win you $1 million. Fill out your bracket now and until Thursday morning before the games begin. Visit foxsportsradio.com to register, get rules, and fill out your bracket. It's all sponsored by Tractor Supply for life out here. If you've not been paying attention here, you've been distracted by some other shiny object. Aaron Rodgers is in the ballot booth. He's got the ballot in front of him. It's got Steelers on the line right there. Below it's got the Giants. Then it's got the Vikings with a question mark. And then at the very bottom it says none of the above. And so Rodgers is in the voting booth, and he's an undecided voter. And he's just decided that he doesn't want to decide. The decision is I don't want to decide anything at this point. And so his hand's wobbling, and he's got the shivers, he's got the flop sweat. He doesn't know what to do. Now, state-sponsored NFL media, the Pravda News Service of the National Football League, tells us that the decision conceivably will not happen until the NFL draft, which is, let me check my notes here, 37 days away. So over a month away. Now, you might remember a couple years back when Aaron Rodgers was debating where he was going to end up when he was with the Green Bay Packers, and it was around the draft, if I remember correctly, when Rodgers got off the toilet and finally decided to go live in the toilet, which is the Jets building there in New Jersey. So we've got some time here, if that's accurate. Of course, you'll get that report today. Tomorrow there'll be a report that Rodgers wants to decide by this weekend because there's a comic book festival somewhere he wants to go to. So let us discuss the question for the esteemed panel, which you are part of. The chatter that Aaron Rodgers, free agent decision, the decision of Rodgers, could not come until the NFL draft, which is in late April. Believe it or not. So I've got drummer, FB Express Train, and telemarketer. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make some jambalaya is what we're going to make. Not that Aaron Rodgers has ever eaten jambalaya. I don't think he has, but we're just going to make some jambalaya. So, my first thought on the Rodgers thing, to answer the question, is it a believe it or not situation? Well, I am a believer in this one. I believe is in the cards at this point. Because initially it was like, well, Rodgers is going to decide in the next 48 hours. There was that report, and then that didn't happen. And then there were the tabloid photos of Rodgers meandering around the beach in Malibu and contemplating the time-space continuum as he wandered around there. But Rodgers, one thing's for sure, he is not going to be bullied. You're not going to bully Adam Schefter, Aaron Rodgers, into making a decision. It's not going to happen. He marches to the beat of his own drummer. And his own drummer, who knows? That drummer might be named Joe Rogan or somebody in the Trump administration. I don't know. I have no idea. But Rodgers will not conform to what normal football decorum is, right? The popular societal norms in the NFL is that you sign rapidly, and because you've got a bottleneck here. You got other suckbag quarterbacks that are like, hey, what about us? What about us? You got Russell Wilson who's out there. What about me? You got Kirk Cousins in Atlanta who will be traded at some point here. And so they're like, hey, we suck too, but we want to go to different teams. What about us? And Rodgers is at the front, and the whole road's blocked. Rodgers is blocking the whole road at this particular point, but he's in his canoe, and he paddles his own canoe. And he's just going to paddle, la, 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 la. I'm paddling my own canoe. Just like that. That's the sound of him paddling his own canoe. Refusing to follow the crowd. And Rodgers figures if you really want him, You're going to wait for it. Yeah, you're going to wait for him, and ergo, you know what that means. Rodgers wants to enjoy his downtime. See, the way I'm reading this, the longer that Rodgers is just floating in the wind, like a tin can in a hurricane, just floating in the wind there, and he can do whatever he wants. He can walk around the beaches of Malibu. He can travel to the four corners of the planet. It doesn't matter, right? The moment he signs a deal, the moment Rodgers agrees to a contract with the Steelers, the Giants, the Vikings, or mystery team, my favorite, the mystery team, the moment that happens, you know what that means. Rodgers will then be expected to attend team functions, to be a leader, to not travel to Egypt when there's mini camps going on. And so the longer he doesn't agree to a contract, the further he kicks it back, the more time he can do whatever he wants, and no one will criticize Rodgers because he hasn't signed a contract. And it's as long as he drags it out, he can go hang out with Joe Rogan in Austin and do the podcast. He can travel to Timbuktu and go anywhere. It doesn't matter, right? And as the world turns. Now, speaking of as the world turns, one of our favorite quarterbacks who loves crab legs, famous Jameis Winston, is set to meet later on, hours from now, with the New York Football Giants, we are told. And so Jameis Winston, famous Jameis, who played with Cleveland, not well with Cleveland, then was a commentator for Fox during the Super Bowl coverage, and now Jameis Winston is going to meet with the New York Giants in free agency. Is that something or nothing? So I jotted down on my chicken scratch, I jotted down something. And I'm pulling for Jameis Winston. If you're going to get a mediocre to bad quarterback, if you're the Giants, you might as well go down this road. Right? In fact, I will rubber stamp, the MALLER rubber stamp of approval for Jameis Winston. That means a lot. It does. It means send that out on social media. It means a lot. That is the contingency plan for the Giants. The lesser of, not two, the lesser of three evils. Because if you take the temperature in the room, it's pretty obvious Aaron Rodgers isn't all that interested in playing for the Giants. Does anyone disagree with that? No, I don't see any hands raised. So he's not interested in playing for the Giants. So you look around, and you're like the bronze winner in that. It's the Steelers, Vikings, or retirement, and then the Giants. And the other options, you got Russell Wilson, who's absolutely cooked at this particular point, and Kirk Cousins. Whoop-de-damn-do. Those are your options. Dolesville. So Jameis Winston is the antithesis of that. Now, I'm not sitting here and telling you behind the microphones of FSR that Jameis Winston's good. I don't believe he is. But what he is more importantly, he's on the train, what I call the FB Express train, the fun bad express train. And I want fun bad. I love fun bad. Who doesn't enjoy fun bad? Fun bad is great. I live for fun bad. If you're going to be bad, at least be fun. Don't be bad boring. Be fun bad. And that's Jameis Winston. He's mesmerizing. He's charismatic. Off the field, he says goofy things. He's fun, just a fun-loving guy and all that. He's a high-risk, high-reward situation, a quarterback there. One-man band. It says in the Bible, Jameth giveth and Jameth taketh away. That involves throwing interceptions and pick sixes and all that. And it's fun. And for every 2 interceptions that Jameis Winston throws, he'll throw like a touchdown. For every 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. It's fascinating to watch him play. And also, don't forget, if he does go, Jameis Winston, to the Giants, that would mean that Saquon Barkley, his stretch of hits continues. Because remember, at the Super Bowl media event, which used to be Media Day before it became commercialized by the NFL, and they ruined it. But at that event, Jameis Winston interviewed Saquon Barkley. It's called NFL Opening Night, whatever dopey name they came up with it. And they sold tickets or whatever people go. But Barkley was asked by Winston, hey, where should I go? And kind of sarcastically, Saquon Barkley said, well, I hear that New York, the Giants, need a quarterback. And sure enough, later today, Jameis Winston will meet with the the team that fired Saquon Barkley and allowed him to go to Philadelphia and lead the Eagles to the Super Bowl. Now, last word. A regular punching bag, not a full-size punching bag, a little punching bag on this show, Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler Murray, quote, went viral. Several of you sent this to me, and I thank you for that because I don't have to really pay attention to Kyler Murray news because you idiots send me the stories. Not really on my radar. Things that small don't show up on my radar, and so I normally just don't pay attention. But you guys always let me know when there's something out there about Kyler. So Kyler Murray said recently the Cardinals are not far at all. That's the quote. I'm going to get the quote right. Not far at all. Kyler Murray said the Cardinals are not far at all from the Super Bowl. So what is your response? All right, so my response is I think it's what they do in the cartoons. They yawn and they stretch, right? You yawn and you stretch your arms out, and then you stretch your arms out like that. I think that's my response. I believe that is. Now, technically, he's not wrong because the Super Bowl next year will be played in Northern California, and I believe it's about an hour and 15 minutes or so, maybe a little longer than that, from Sky Harbor Airport to the airport closest to the 49ers Stadium, maybe a little longer, give or take. So it's not that far. You're not that far away from flying into Northern California from Arizona, where the Super Bowl will be played. But Kyler Murray, I give the guy credit because I knew right away this guy was phony, and he's been able to bamboozle the dum-dums in Arizona all these years, 6 years into his NFL sojourn, and the only thing he's an all-pro at is video games. It's fascinating, and yet it continues, and there's really no end in sight. There were some rumors that Murray will be traded, but got to find another sucker to take Kyler Murray on. But Alligator Arms Murray, and he says, hey, the Cardinals are not that far away from the Super Bowl. Of course, if you put your record and my record together, Kyler Murray and you and me combined, we have the same number of playoff wins. That would be 0, zip, zilch, nada, bupkis, any other way you want to phrase that, no playoff wins. The one playoff game he played in, he was absolutely overwhelmed. Like a kid trying to sit at the grown-ups table against the Rams in that playoff game. Remember that dazed look on the bench like, I don't know, what am I doing here? I don't know. But Kyler is a 50-50 player. He's a 50-50 player. He's fine for half the season because of his diminutive size or just the video game addiction that he has. He's unable to perform at a high level in the second half. It's not my opinion. It's a fact. And the numbers back that up. And my supporting evidence, for those of you questioning my analysis of Kyler Murray, the eyeballs and the stats back up that argument. Kyler Murray, 22-17 record with good touchdown interception numbers in September and October. So that's half the season. We play 4 games a month about, and so it's halfway through the season. Then in the dates after that, November and December and a little bit of January, Kyler Murray has a record which is, I believe, 14 games under 500 and terrible touchdown interception numbers and just dreadful. Just absolute dreck from Kyler Murray past that point. And so Kyler Murray's saying, hey, we're not that far away from the Super Bowl. It's like reading off a telemarketer's script. And he's like, hey, I'm cold calling you, and I'm going to make your life better. Blah, 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 blah. It's a stock answer. It's going to sportscliche.com. Rip and read. Knock yourself out. Kyler Murray has a much better chance of winning one of these video game tournaments than he does winning a Super Bowl, even getting to a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. The Cardinals with Kyler Murray are a roster that is led by their quarterback. It's soft and creamy. It's a soft and creamy roster.